and welcome back to the channel. Another video on the ACV engine, the 2.5. So, last night where we left it, I put some oil in the piston and the cylinder, just left it to soak in, and I've lubed up all the others as well, bit of oil in there. Gone ahead and rotated the engine and measured the height, the protrusion of each piston against the cylinder head, the block, or the deck as it's called. So pistons 1, 2 and 3, they all within, they're within the tolerance of how high they've got to come up. I think this one was 0.7 of a mil, and then this one was like this one was 1 mil. These two don't protrude at all. They're completely flush. And then while I was turning it over, I heard this noise, the knocking noise. Right, so that knocking is coming from piston 4 and piston 5. So when you've got your finger on there, you can feel the vibration of that knock just there. And then when it gets down to the bottom, you can feel that knock. This you can also feel it in this one here. But these, the other three, they seem fine. So, looks like we got some big end bearings to replace. Hopefully that's just it, and main bearings, and hopefully the conrods and everything else will be alright. But we'll find out when we strip it down. So I've gone ahead, removed the water pump, a little bit of water came out. Still got the thermostat to remove, I haven't bothered with that yet. It's in there pretty solid at the moment. Probably corroded in there, just like everything else has corroded up. I also went ahead and removed the bracket that was on the front there. Still got these to take off, but you know, we'll do them in a bit. But I think what I'm going to do is now rotate the engine, whip the sump plug off, the sump, get the oil, get the oil pump taken off, and we'll inspect everything. I was just looking and thinking, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to rotate the engine a little bit under the sump plug and just make sure all the oil is completely drained from the sump before we start removing it. Alright, let's crack on. So I just brought the sump out to show you in the sunlight. Don't know how well you can see all of that. Down here. And by the looks of it, 'cause it's not metallic, it's either copper or brass. Loads of it.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Right, next job. Let's get this oil pickup pump off. And then we'll start taking the pistons out, starting from cylinder 1. We'll work our way along. I've got a pen somewhere so I can make some marks. So I can mark piston number 1 and the direction. So I'm going to put the arrow going that way towards the gearbox. It's okay, I know where the bolts are at the moment, what ones go where. I'll mark all of them up and put them somewhere in a minute. Let's get the piston out. Number 1. Actually, I could go through, clean it all up, and then we'll start removing them. Well, I was just numbering them all up and cleaning it all. You see that? I would say that is a bearing failure there. So there we go, piston 4, cylinder 4. How well can you see that? That's the bearing on there where it's spun up. See if I can point it out a little bit clearer for you. So you see just there, see how yeah, that's where it's split. Oops, sorry, I didn't see I drifted. So you can see the split line along there, or the two halves of the shells, the two shells, both halves. Yeah, that one spun up. First three, they looked alright. But yeah, just that one, number 4, and I expect it's the same on number 5. But well, I'll come back to that in a minute when we get them out. Right, so the final one. I say I have slackened it off. I thought I had, it was on tight. There we go. Sorry, I'm just cleaning the oil off as I'm going as well. Yeah, those bearings shouldn't spin up like that. Well, I've opened the garage door to try and get a bit more light in here, but it's still dark. But you can see, now we've got the pistons off. Rotates lovely. So, let's just check these crank pin journals. On the first one, doesn't look too bad. The second one doesn't look too bad. A little bit scoring, but you know, with your finger you can't feel anything. And they all measure 47.8 mil. And the third one, the middle one, that's fine. And then we go to where the spun bearings were. So for piston 4, cylinder 4, yeah, you can hear how bad that is. And then go to the fifth one. Seriously scored. But they're still within, they're still 47.8 mil diameter. so it hasn't really taken anything off, just scratched it. It might be able to be polished, but I expect that crankshaft is going to have to be reground. That's if I go ahead and use this block, because well, it was clearly sold as a cam belt snapped, but we can see with further investigating that the cam belt hasn't snapped and that it's actually an engine failure and the engine's seized. It's clearly seized, and I'll show you why, because I'll show you now with the pistons, with the bores. Right, it's really hard to show you the bores, but you can see at the top here, well, this is the deck. We're looking down from the deck down to the crank. You can see a little whitening there at the top here, and then a little bit more of whitening down there. And also on the top. But those scratches, let me put that light down so I can put my hand in. So just here, I mean, you run your finger around, you can't feel the scratches. I think about a finger down, so about down there, so about 2 inches down, that little white patch, you can feel that. But I'm thinking that that's actually from the piston and not actually the cylinder wall. And it's the same if I stick my hand right down to that bottom one. It's really hard to see, but when you actually look at it, those scratches, some of them are raised. So I think that is from the piston. And again, these, you run your fingernail across it, nothing. So although it looks bad, it may not be that bad at all. Might get away with just honing these out, and as long as they're still within their tolerance of oh, I can't remember what their tolerance was. Was it 0.0? Yeah, 0.09 millimeter is the tolerance. So as long as we can, you know, if we can go an extra 0.3 of a yeah, 0.3, that would take it to 0.6, because obviously if you take off 0.3 here, it's going to take off 0.3 here as well. And if that's still in the tolerance, that should clear all that up, and that should be fine. Because again, like I say, you run your nail along, you can't really feel it, only in a couple of places here at the, like about a couple of inches down, and then right at the very bottom. And again, like I say, I think that's from the piston itself. The other bores actually look all right. I mean, they feel great, lovely and smooth. They've still got the cross hatching on them. Just that fifth cylinder. So I think that's what happened, is it actually seized at the bottom there. And I think that's the piston. So if we have a look at the piston, let's come up here, grab this piston, number 5. You can see there's the, that's what happened to those shell bearings. So that which way better. So I'll let you can see that, yeah. And there is wear on them as well. I use this piston number 5 because piston 4 is okay. It's not as bad as piston 5. You can see on piston 5 here, all this scratching here. Now that scratching is bad on the piston. Obviously that's the worst of it. But these are all chunks and gouges taken out of the piston. So I think this is what's on the cylinder wall. It's the aluminium from the piston has embedded itself onto the wall of the block. So maybe that block is okay. If it is, yeah, we'll have to replace that piston, but that's not a problem. But what I've also noticed is the rods. I don't know whether you better see it very well, but there is actual heat stress. Oh, you can see it on that side. Yeah, you see the discoloration? Yeah. So that's the same on piston 4 as well. So both conrods on 4 and 5 are knackered. That piston's knackered. All the other pistons are fine. So yeah, I reckon that's it. those pistons, I mean, this is the wear. Let's take number 3 for example, and we'll have a look at the wear on this. I mean, there's slight wear on there, but nothing major. You know, they look good, just a bit dirty. And these rods look okay. And I've checked the tolerances. Yeah, there's these shell bearings are going to have to be replaced anyway. All of them are going to have to be replaced, because you can see the markings. Well, there's evidence on all of these shell bearings. You can see the discoloration there. On all of them, lack of oil. So someone obviously picked up rod knock and just ignored it and kept running it with no oil, and that was the results. So it wasn't a cam belt that had snapped on this, causing an engine failure. It overheated and seized because of rod knock. Oh well, right. Carry on stripping it and get it to a machine shop, I guess.